What's your prognosis?
I can't detect a heartbeat, Doctor.
It is a grave situation.
I didn't think we can save this one.
Surely we can. But we're going to need a few items.
What do we need?
We need a priest.
Patrick.
We need an exorcist.
Dave.
We need a mixologist.
I can do that too.
Get the crash cart. Stat. Clear. The good news with this piece is that it does have all of its original hardware. We do have a lot of the pieces that have come off of it. Fortunately, somebody did put them in drawers. The hardware looks to be brass back here. You can see a little bit of brass, and it's quite weighty. So hopefully it'll clean up okay. At least it has its original hardware. So I've labeled 2 bags, and then that way the hardware for each of them does not get mixed up, and extra pieces that I know came from each one, I can just put those in the baggie for now, and then when I'm ready to start making repairs, pull those pieces out, and I know which pieces go to the vanity and which pieces went to the dresser, and I can put those pieces back on the appropriate piece. I know that this piece has been in a basement for over 25 years. In that time, I know that that basement has flooded at least 5 times. Somebody's put a bunch of washers on this one because they've wallowed it out a bit. Now, while taking this handle off this piece, I noticed when I was taking it off that veneer was falling on the floor there. I'm going to pick that up right now and put it back into place, because now is the best time to do it. You know where it came from, you know that the pieces are there, so I'm just going to go ahead and adhere those back. It's like a great big jigsaw puzzle. Gonna be a lot of puzzle pieces to this one. What have I done? Project like this, the only way to look at it is it's like eating an elephant, and you just have to do it one bite at a time. So this case might be more of a woolly mammoth. Now, I don't know how much of this, or if any of the veneer, I'm going to keep wood, and how much, if any, I am going to paint. I really have to feel my way through this one and see how they look when it comes to that point. Oh, there's going to be so much veneer on this. Y'all are going to get your feel on this one. My goodness. Alright, we'll just let that sit overnight, and we'll come back to it tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of veneer work on this, because even if I went to paint it, I need all this veneer adheres down. So there's going to be a lot to do here. So we've got all of our extra pieces and our hardware in our little baggies now, and we will put those away for the time being. We're going to start stripping the old finish off of these pieces, and to do that, I'm going to use some denatured alcohol and some steel wool. See how that goes. And we're just going to keep wiping that off. Now what that does is it takes the shellac off, leaving just the color. Now if these finishes were pristine, and oops, see, that's obviously not. I have to put that back on so it doesn't get lost. If these finishes were pristine, then at this point, after you've cleaned them with the denatured alcohol and removed all of the shellac, if your wood was in good shape and you were going to keep that wood finish, all you'd need to do is go back at this point and give it a light sand and put on a new shellac. But we're going further with this piece, so we're just going to have to keep moving. And you want to wipe that denatured alcohol off while it's wet, because that's removing that finish. And then once you're all done, just go back and wipe over it all again to remove any excess with a wet down cloth with denatured alcohol. Be sure that you use your respirator. Be sure that you've got gloves on. Nice, well ventilated area. So you can see how this is going to go. It's going to be many hours of this on the first pass, and then I will probably with this piece go back and do all of this again because it is pretty bad. This is probably one of the worst ones that I have done. I've removed a lot of shellac, and if you've watched the channel for any length of time, you're well aware that that's something that I'm familiar with doing a lot. But this one is definitely the worst. So many hours of doing this, and then we will take a look at it and see where we are. And as you can see, there's a lot of missing veneer on these pieces, probably more than I actually realized, because I did not notice that piece missing at first until I got all the shellac off. So I think once we get all of this discolored shellac off, we'll know for sure how bad this piece really is. But I'm gonna try and give it a new life, keep it alive a little bit longer, get out the paddles and see if we can shock it back to life. Okay, for everybody who wonders how in the world do you get the paint or varnish out of little tiny areas, this is how I do it. We are removing the shellac and God knows what else from this piece. And so what I'm doing is I've got a piece of steel wool. Now that works quite well. Those of you who watch the channel often, you've seen these scrapers. I use them so much. It has a lot of different heads that change out. So we just pop that open, pull that one off, and put this one on. Clamp it back down, and now we can get into all of these little areas. You can see it just really gets all that gunk out, whether it be paint, varnish, shellac, whatever. We can just bring that molding back to its glory. And we've got that one all cleaned up. Good morning, everybody. We're here working on this vanity, and I have taken the vanity apart, taken this drawer bank off over here so that I can get to the sides, because there is a lot of veneer repair on it. All right, if you see right here, all detached, because it has been wet previously, it's it's all wavy. Now, the other side was much worse, and I wished I would have filmed that. But I'm going to do this side the same way, flatten this out, and glue everything back down flat. A little bit of contrast there. It won't fix where it's missing veneer, but we can at least reattach what is here and save that part. And what I've done is just gone in and just kind of scraped out and blown out and brushed out whatever loose glue is in there, and tried to make sure that I got all the way as far up as I could. All right, I've got a damp rag here. I've got my iron that I use in the shop, and I'm just going to iron this down. We're steaming this wood flat again, is what we want to do. Now, I feel like this rag is just not giving me quite enough moisture, so I'm just going to spray this under there a bit. Just keep wetting and steaming. I know it seems quite counterintuitive to put water on wood, but sometimes in this case there's no other fix for it but to steam it back flat. Do not use the iron that you use for your clothes, because that will not be a good idea. All right, now if you see that it's flexible, and we can now start working glue in there. So I've got my glue in a syringe, and I'm going to get it up in there and just add it in. Now, I just get these syringes and so forth off of Amazon. Most of your wood places will have them, and I've just squeezed that all under there. Now, just to kind of move this around, I'm just going to put my scraper under there. I'm just going to put my scraper under there and just kind of move that glue around, kind of coating everything under there. After you're sure that you've got your glue up under there and everything is all glued back down, just going to go ahead and iron this down. Make sure you press everything out nice and flat. Okay. And because it's all wet, it's flexible. Well, not wet, but steamed. Making sure that everything is nice and flat under your blocks. And then clamp them down. Just make sure that the glue blocks that you use are taped up, because if they come in contact with your wood and your wood is glued and your block is touching it, it's going to glue your block to your wood, so you certainly don't want that. So I just use packing tape. I'm going to use this piece of wood to be sure that we force pressure all along this edge. All right, we'll just let that dry, and that should take care of that side. This is just so that y'all can see what I walk into in my shop sometimes in the mornings. sometimes it just makes you want to go back and start the day over again. All right, see how flat we are? So all that bubbled up veneer is nice and flat now. And a little bit of warm water would get off that glue, but I know that I am going to have to strip all of the shellac off this piece anyway. Pretty good for something that was so wrinkled. And when you have a piece like this, you automatically know it's going to take a lot of time. Is it something that you would do to resell? Absolutely not. For the hours that it will take me to redo this piece, there's absolutely no way that you could make an hourly rate off of that. So be careful in the pieces that you buy. Let's say that you even pay $10 for this piece, both pieces. You're probably looking at a week of stripping all of the shellac off of this, getting it smoothed out. When you're looking at hourly pay, that rate is going to be $25 to $35 an hour. It really doesn't pay to get a piece that is in such bad shape. The only reason that I'm doing this one is it is for me. I thought I would share this journey with you and show you a few tips, because a lot of you will have pieces that have, veneer that, you need to save it, or you want to save it but just aren't sure how. Say it got wet in a flood, because a lot of people are dealing with, drastic weather changes, hurricanes, floods, rains. So this may help you in, getting some of your pieces back to where you want them. And if it does, that's fantastic. Gonna have to come over here, do a little bit of re-veneering right here in this corner. Hope you can see that move, but it didn't quite get there, but that's okay. We can come back and do that. You've got to trust the process when you're doing something like this. It's going to be ugly before it gets pretty. Wait a minute, hold up, stop, the camera's rolling, put the brakes on. Okay, for a week now, I have been re-gluing veneer on this piece, and the more that I glue, it seems like the more that there is. And at some point, you just have to admit defeat. Now, anybody who's watched this channel for any length of time knows that if I could save all of this veneer and put it back on, realistically, I would. But this is my piece, and I don't really want that anyway. That's not the look that I had envisioned in my head. So we're going to back up, rewind, and reimagine this piece again. We haven't even finished all of the repairs on these pieces yet. So we're going to stop and we're going to rethink what exactly we're going to do to these pieces. So join me for the next part of this and we're going to rethink it.
I didn't have a heartbeat, Captain.